I could have not gone out on that stage.
Well, why did you?
Because I love the people. I don't take those people for granted. I don't take the people for granted that may have paid their last dollar. Those people for granted. So I could have not gone out on that stage. But because of the people, I walked out on that stage and I said that to the people. So when y'all say, well, why didn't she go out? Because that's just not the type of woman I am.
And I want to share something with y'all that y'all don't know about this human being sitting to the right. When she says it, she really means it. She had the privilege of being told by a gentleman y'all may have heard of who said, never stop being who you are. Always be you, because you works. His name was Richard Pryor. And there's a gentleman by the name of Rudy Hughley. That's the nephew of the legendary Paul Mooney. He was there and could corroborate Paul Mooney saying, you know they call you Mrs. Pryor. Why they call you that? Because you remind them of the female Richard Pryor. Now, when you hear other comedians talking trash about her, you got that from comedy royalty. The king, before there was a king of comedy. So that allows you to just keep moving forward and not take anything personally. But I say that to say, when you walk on that stage and you are a comedian, it is your job to be truthful to the audience. She doesn't work at the Quickie Mart. She's not a brain surgeon. Her behavior on stage is not unprofessional because it's indicative of the latitude that a comedian is given. They're given a comedic license to speak in reference to their life. And guess what she did? She spoke about her life because she would be doing the crowd a disservice to hold all that back and say nothing. And part of the reason why we're having the conversation out loud, because there are many of us who've been enslaved in our thinking to believe that everything that happens that's volatile, that could be construed as embarrassing, should be kept quietly. And what happens is, in self-defense, they teach women especially, if you are ever abducted in a parking lot, you must scream and yell because that is your best opportunity for survival. Because if the accoster, if the rapist, if the abductor gets you in the privacy of their home, you're at their mercy.
Come on.
So when you stay silent, you are at the mercy of the victimizer. But when the victimizer is trying to victimize you, it is your best bet to drag them out into the public end so they can take accountability for what it is that they've done. And that's what she did that night.
And please, my babies, do your own homework. Pull it up for yourself. And then ask yourself, how many times am I going to get poked? How many times is people going to just start messing with people that's not messing with them? So again, what happened Saturday night? I'm going to say it again. D.L. Hughley was going to get his ass handed to him. Because once y'all go back all through the interviews, I'm going to be shocked. I will be shocked if y'all say, Mo, I'm surprised you didn't get this, brother, a lot sooner, because it went on for years.
And when Brother DL says Monique does what a lot of women do, and that's weaponized feminism. No, what a lot of women do is they get mistreated because they're feminine, because they happen to be women. So when a woman takes the course of facing her opposition head on, she's a bitch. She don't know what she's doing. She being disrespectful. I mean, what's the name of the book Brother Steve Harvey wrote? What was it called?
Act like a lady, but think like a man. What? Do y'all see what we buy into? I'm not equipped to think like a man. I'm not equipped to think like a man.
And why does a woman have to think like a man in order to be accepted? And then when a woman thinks like a man and dealt with DL head on, now it's a problem again.
But I got to go back to this, Daddy.
Go back to it.
I can't believe DL Hughley. I can't believe Darlene, you are tender. Now, that has nothing to do with your sexuality. It has everything to do with your heart. I can't believe you that tender. I can't believe, and she was, what is the word he uses? Because he's using one of those words.
It was vile.
Oh, yes. I can't. You, brother, you are in your feelings. I cannot believe that, DL. And for the comedians, pay attention, baby. Pay attention. See, when you run your mouth about other people and you don't know who you running up into, and then you get to running into a brick wall, and then you want to play victim and fall out and act like you've been damaged. Come on. Like I said, I feel sorry for your family, brother.
If I may.
Yes, you may.
Change in another direction.
Change it.
What we believe in is trying to put forth the facts because we love our people.
Yes.
And what a lot of individuals don't know is the people that he spoke about Monique having a problem with, he said they all are the same. And they're right. They all were people who stepped to her and she stepped back. Now that's the problem. If you notice throughout the years, what are the details associated with what makes Monique difficult? See, when they speak in generalities, it allows you to come up with your conclusion about how she was difficult, but they never go into the specifics. See, the specifics would be Monique has a problem with Oprah Winfrey and Tyler Perry. Oprah Winfrey for multiple reasons. Besides the fact that as a black woman who privately said, and here's that word again, privately communicated to Monique and I that her position for not campaigning for an award was right and it was fair because everything she did was up on the screen. In addition to the fact that she had no contractual obligation to do anything for Lionsgate. When you have Tyler Perry, who privately admits the same thing, but also says, anything they ask me to do is what I'll do. When you have a billionaire who says, anything they ask me to do, I'll do, what begins to happen is they'll use his actions of compliance to put down everybody else. So Monique was supposed to do something for people that she owed nothing. Now, if you think that she was wrong for that, this is what I would suggest you do. When you go to work tomorrow, or if you're at work right now, go to your boss and say, listen, moving forward, I've been tripping. I've been looking for money at the end of the week for my job. Moving forward, I'm going to work for you and let you make money off of me and I get nothing in return. If you think that what she did was inappropriate. The black woman is violated so much that y'all heard the recording of Tyler Perry saying he was wrong and he was going to make it right and he is yet to make it right. But nobody is saying anything to him because he's Tyler Perry. There's a quote that goes, some people are fearful of the truth. They are fearful of hearing the truth because they are afraid it will destroy their illusion. Take away our God. And we got to be connected more, not to who the celebrity is, not more to who's black, not more to who's white, not more to who's a Democrat, not more to who's a Republican. We've got to be connected to what's right. And sometimes when you're connected to what's right, you got to face the ridicule associated. But we rather face the ridicule associated with doing what's right than face the personal ridicule that we would impose upon ourselves for standing there and letting wrong happen and say nothing.
Now I want to address the contract and a deal memo.
May I help you with that?
Yes,
sorry, my
Daddy.
love.
Yes.
Please forgive me.
Go on, take your time.
So, as not to freestyle, I pulled up the difference between the two. This will give you it in a nutshell. A memorandum of understanding, or the deal memo that D.L. Hughley presented to the people. It says, a memorandum of understanding is a document used to articulate an agreement between two or more parties. The document is likely to detail the scope of the agreement, the length of the agreement, and the state how the agreement can be terminated. A memorandum of understanding is often used before parties are ready to make a formal, let me repeat that, a memorandum of understanding is used before parties are often used before parties are ready to make a formal agreement. Parties can use a memorandum of understanding to outline expectations and responsibilities before a full agreement has been reached. Unlike contracts, however, a memorandum of understanding is not intended to be a legally binding agreement. As a result, parties can typically avoid the agreement with no legal consequences. Let me repeat that, and I'm going to break it down in layman's terms. When they say unlike contracts, however, a memorandum of understanding, which is what DL provided the community with,
Yes,
is not intended to be a legally binding agreement. By legally binding, that means that if you were to try to sue for what was not on a memorandum of understanding, there are no signatures. It is not legally binding. And the agreement, because he made the statement, oh, that came from his company. Well, the MOU came from UTA, which, as it says here, unlike contracts, however, a memorandum of understanding is not intended to be a legally binding agreement. As a result, parties can typically avoid the agreement with no legal consequences. However, that brings you to what Monique presented you with, which was a legal binding agreement. See, one of the key differences between a memorandum of understanding and a legal contract is enforceability. That means the key difference between a contract and a memorandum of understanding is enforceability. Contracts are created when two or more parties intend to create a legally enforceable agreement. Parties enter into contracts after an offer has been accepted with considerations. Parties to contracts are legally obligated to comply with the terms and conditions of the agreement. I'll repeat. I'll repeat. It says, parties to contracts are legally obligated to comply with the terms and conditions of the agreement. If a term or condition of a contract is breached, parties will face legal consequences. So, what does that mean? The documentation, hence the performance agreement that Monique provided you with, is a legally binding contract, which is the reason why, if you looked at the bottom of the contract, you saw initials on both sides, one from the promoter, one from our side. When he said this came from their company, it did, because the artist must have a standard contract she provides as a courtesy to the promoter, because they won't know what it is that they need in order to utilize her services for hire. We wanted to get that granular and specific because DL was comfortable speaking in generalities. And generalities allow things to be hidden, such as the truth.
you know how you keep watching our stories over and over and over again, and the only thing that changes are the faces because the stories remain the same? And if you want our babies to believe that a deal memo is anything close to a contract, what are you feeding us, DL? You know that's a deal memo. You can put anything you want to put in the deal memo. That's what you would like. And D.L. Hughley has yet to still show his signed contract. And this is something else that I want to address to us. When I see the comedians. Having these conversations, it makes my heart hurt for y'all, because it's making me understand how they are able to